Hi und willkommen wieder bei Sarah's Music. Der amerikanische Komponist und Dirigent John Adams ist unser Composer in Residence dieses Jahr bei den Berliner Philharmonikern. Wir genießen es gerade sehr, seine Musik zu spielen und auch John hier bei uns in der Philharmonie zu haben. Es ist wirklich was ganz Besonderes, ein Musikstück zu spielen, wo der Komponist selber dirigiert. John Adams dirigierte mein Orchester am Anfang von dieser Saison und diese Woche ist er wieder in Berlin und dirigiert Mitglieder der Orchesterakademie der Berliner Philharmoniker. Er dirigiert ein Stück von ihm, ein frühes Werk, The Chamber Symphony, und dieses Stück wurde unter anderem beeinflusst von Cartoon-Musik. Die Orchesterakademie der Berliner Philharmoniker nimmt junge, talentierte Musiker auf, die hier 2 Jahre lang von Mitgliedern des Orchesters auf eine Karriere als professionelle Musiker vorbereitet werden.
Great, good. That'll work. So I always think of this as like a dog scratching fleas. So don't make it too beautiful, okay?
John, welcome back to Berlin.
Thank you.
We love having you here.
I love being here.
I was wondering, how did you become a composer? How does one decide to become a composer?
I was 10 years old. I lived in a very small village in New England, and our teacher in school read us a child's biography of Mozart. I was completely enchanted with the idea of a little boy who could travel around Europe and write symphonies. So I went home and got a piece of paper and a straight edge and pencil, and I went out into the back in the woods where I thought it would be a good place to get inspiration. Sat down to write my first symphony, and I realized to my horror that I didn't know what to do. You know, I didn't know harmony and I didn't know the rules. But my parents were really smart and they found me a teacher, and I started studying at a very early age.
How do you compose? Is it a lonely life? Do you have to disappear and be by yourself?
First of all, it's very labor intensive, and you can't hire it out. You know, you can't get somebody to take care of this or that. It's all your own work. So
Do you use a pen or a computer?
I use a computer and a pencil. I think a lot of people imagine composers as being very spontaneous people who wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, but most of the composers I know are we keep what we call banker's hours. You know, I start about 9 in the morning and I work until 5, you know, every day of the week, pretty much.
That's not at all how I imagine composers to
I know, it's not very romantic, is it? But it's like a lot of artists, it's just a lot of very fine, detailed work. And you're very much alone. It's a very solitary existence. But then, you know, I have weeks like I'm having here in Berlin, where I come and I get the incredible experience of mixing with this great orchestra and hearing the music, hearing it played the first time not so well, you know, watching the orchestra learn it, and then this finally being in the room where the audience is there, and it's an incomparable experience.
It is an amazing experience to be able to play a piece conducted by the composer. They have the right then to say, no, I don't want that, I like that, no, don't play that. You've actually recreated some things and you've changed some things.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing about what I do, because I'm in this world, it's called classical music, and we call it classical because we hope it has a very long shelf life. If we write it correctly, that many, many years after we're dead and gone, that people will continue to play it and continue to, you know, find new things in it. But with that said, the actual act of performing it, of conducting it, and the interaction with the players is so stimulating, and I get ideas in the course of a rehearsal. And because I'm the composer, you know, I can say, well, never mind what's written there, just try this and try that. And the players are a little alarmed because, you know, with Beethoven, you would never
We wouldn't
change
dare
anything.
to change anything.
And they kind of look at each other and, you know, what's he saying? But, oh, that's right, he's the composer, he can say that. So.
Great. Peter, why don't you come down a little on the woodblock, a little softer at 202. Okay? Just mark it maybe mezzo piano there.
Harry, you have a really difficult part to play in the Chamber Symphony. Congratulations. Yes. It sounds amazing. What is it like for a young musician to play a piece of John Adams with John Adams conducting? Do you have the feeling that he's open for your ideas?
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of big game of give and take. You come to the first rehearsal kind of with your version of what he's written. And of course, with the composer in front of you, it kind of changes. But he has given me freedoms that I kind of took that weren't completely strictly in the part.
You know, I think of, for me, that conducting it's the yin to the yang of composing. You know, the Chinese symbol, I need both. I need the creative part, and then I need this other thing, which is the extrovert, which is, you know, dealing with the musicians, having to think quickly on your feet. You have to just make these very quick decisions. So it's kind of a social act, and I need those two things because the communication with the players feeds my own creative juices.
Das Konzert im Kammermusiksaal war ein Riesenerfolg. Und jetzt zum Abschluss dirigiert John Adams noch ein bisschen John Adams. Viel Spaß dabei und bis zum nächsten Mal bei Sarah's Music. Tschüss! John, you haven't quite finished yet because at the end of every program there is the Sarah's Music Horn Challenge. Now many of your colleagues have taken the Horn Challenge and the worse they are, the more we love them. So I would like to challenge you. You've written some incredibly difficult stuff for the horns, I might say.
I have.
You have. You used to play the clarinet.
I did.
It's pretty similar. You just have to pucker
But I'm
up
a wind
and blow.
player.
You're a wind player, so you know which end to blow in at least.
This.
No, this end.
This end.
Through the mouthpiece, you put your hand in there, and you just have to go